So inflation figures are different for everybody. But the standard inflation rates, everyone in this room is fully aware that they're not accurate. We can swap different items out and into the basket just to give the public a figure to go with. The inflation is how much time you have. Remember, if you measure everything, and I measure my wealth in Bitcoin, okay, and the quality of life in the time that you own. So a traditional pension fund, as many people own and have and use and trust, for me, from day one, when I started making some money a decade and a bit ago, and I was pitched on traditional pensions, they just didn't make sense to me from day one. A traditional pension is returning around 6%, but true inflation is much higher than that. So you're just giving your money away for someone to take risk with it and earn money while you're losing the opportunity cost of having that money, okay? And Bitcoin on an annualized basis has averaged 63% a year. And that's what people traditionally think is risky. I'm not sure if some people in the room possibly are still there. A lot of people in the room possibly think that the least risky thing you can do is to save in Bitcoin as opposed to saving in euros. So if I want you to build a Bitcoin pension, it's like, well, what is a Bitcoin pension? It's really basic. This stuff is really, really simple. Bitcoin pension is basically a Bitcoin accumulation plan, okay? And that simply just means every month you own more Bitcoin than you did the month before. So the actual market price of the asset is totally irrelevant, okay? And I think it's those who can detach themselves from that do the best. Now, where a lot of people get sort of misled on this is that you'd be like, but with a traditional pension, I get this tax incentive, which is like the carrot that's dangled in front of us, okay? But again, as I mentioned, that never made sense to me because you're going to pay tax on the money, you're just going to pay tax on it when you're older. Whereas, even if I didn't understand Bitcoin, know about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin didn't exist, I would still say, if someone young was to ask me their advice, I'd say, no, don't do a pension. Take the money, pay the tax on it, invest it into yourself. Make yourself a better asset for the next 30 years. Make yourself be able to earn more, make yourself work more. And that'll be a much higher return than firing money into this tax-efficient thing that you cross your fingers and hope is going to return you money. And from being in the Bitcoin with Dinny office, unfortunately, the amount of horror stories that I hear about people who have been wrecked on pensions, but it's too late then because they're retired and they're old and they've learned the lesson for the next life. But that's no good, okay? So, a Bitcoin pension, the advantages of it, you've no tax incentive, but I don't think that matters when you're building it in Bitcoin. It really doesn't because of the returns on Bitcoin. But it's self-controlled. You have access to your money whenever you want it. It's not locked up until you hit a certain age, if you manage to hit that certain age. There's no guarantees in this game, as we all know. Millions of things go wrong with these bodies, okay? So, it's self-managed. You control it. So it gives you optionality on the future. Okay, so you're not stuck in any one area or place. I can move my pension anywhere. I don't have to ask anyone's permission. Okay, so it gives you huge optionality. And it's self-owned. I own it. So the only person I have to trust is myself. I don't have to trust a company or an entity or a regulator. I own it. I'm in control. And there's degrees of ownership and control, like, you know, and as Bitcoiners, a lot of us are quite libertarian, and it's like, to me, that's a scale, because I don't want to have to knit my own jumpers and grow my own food. I do trust the hotel, like, to give me breakfast this morning, and, you know. And then the last thing about the Bitcoin pension is it's self-secured. So if you build this thing, it's then up to you to mind it. Don't lose it. Don't screw it up. And, of course, because it's all on you, instead of hiring, you know, with the pension, the expert, you get the expert to do it all, so you don't have to worry about it. But because your Bitcoin pension's all on you, okay, you can screw it up. We all know Bitcoin mistakes can be made. In my office, unfortunately, every week, I get 6 figures nearly every week lost. And it's totally tragic. And none of them are my customers, thankfully. They're people who find me and Google me after they've lost money. So a lot of massive mistakes happen with this. And you know, hopefully, as the technology evolves and grows, entrepreneurs are going to fix all these to take a lot of the human error out. So the how-to on this, and I've seen experienced Bitcoiners, people who've been in this space for, you know, a full cycle. I call 4 years your Bitcoin apprenticeship. You know, that you have to serve your apprenticeship of 4 years and then think you understand something. Before then, just assume you know nothing and stick to your strategy. I think that's the best way. I know it is from past performance anyway. But I've seen a lot of experienced people who should know better, but they don't do the basic things, okay? But it's simply, and this is what I've done for years and it's what I'll do for years, you choose a date and you choose an amount. And that's it, okay? So you don't need to understand technical analysis. You don't even need to understand Bitcoin. You just need an on-ramp. You choose a date, first Monday of the month, and you define an amount. I always say to people, define your minimum commitment. Because it's really easy to buy Bitcoin in bull markets. It's super simple. It's deadly. Everyone's doing it. You pile in. You buy too much Bitcoin, when in hindsight you shouldn't have. But then in the bear markets, when the price crashes and goes down, and when you should be accumulating, then you buy less Bitcoin, okay? And that's just human instinct, how us as humans make decisions. We always make the wrong decision. The market makes us. So what I get all my clients to do is define a minimum amount. What's the minimum strategy that you'll commit to yourself, okay? And you'll do this for 4 years. And even if it's 50 quid a month, I'm like, perfect, that's our minimum. So every month, you've failed yourself if you don't buy 50 quid of Bitcoin. Or it's 200, or it's 1,000. In the bull market, people are like, yeah, it's 2 grand. But then in the bear market, they didn't buy any Bitcoin. And the guy who's just solidly accumulated 50 quid a month for the 4-year apprenticeship, now has a much bigger pension pot than the guy that went in heavy when the price was up and it was easy to buy Bitcoin. And then was a little bit, but my friend says it's going lower, it's probably going down lower. This trader said this thing and he was right before. He called the top, he says the bottom's here. Hindsight teaches you that this isn't the way to accumulate Bitcoin. You choose a date, you choose an amount, and define your minimum commitment. And then action it over 4 years. Action, action, action. This is just a little, 2 little graphics of why you dollar cost average into Bitcoin, why I think that's the best way to accumulate. Remember, focus on the amount of Bitcoin you own, not the market price of it. Focus on measure your wealth in Bitcoin is what I've done for years, and it really changes the game, okay? But this is an example of, let's say you decide, okay, I'm going to take this pension plan seriously, and I'm going to go 1,000 quid a month. And I'm going to do it for 4 years. And what I'll say to my clients as well, because people we think loads of things, but we don't critically sort of analyze it. I'll say, let's say you do your Bitcoin pension plan. You're 30 years of age. You do it for 4 years. You serve an apprenticeship in Bitcoin, 4 years of aggressive accumulation. By the time you get to retirement age, whatever that may be, 69, 68, 67, 72, who knows? And Bitcoin, for some reason, which I don't believe it can, goes to zero, disappears, whatever. And you spend 4 years aggressively accumulating. When you get to the ripe old age, please God, of 70, will it affect the quality of your life at all? You spend 4 years accumulating it. You have another couple of decades to just save and fiat and do what everyone else does. Think it's going to give you a comfortable retirement and then realize you don't have enough money. Okay, so it doesn't affect you. So there is no downside. But let's say you serve your Bitcoin apprenticeship, you aggressively accumulate for 4 years, and that Bitcoin that you accumulated in that 4-year epoch, whenever it was, you realize 4 years later that someone who's maybe 5 times wealthier than you can't catch up because the price of Bitcoin has moved. So they can't accumulate as much as you accumulated. So I don't see any downside in this. And I suppose I must give the disclaimer. It's not financial advice. It's just what I do. Okay? But just over 4 years, and this is just like past performance doesn't guarantee future results, but it's just to give a graphic. I think it helps people to get away from I need to time Bitcoin. You've saved 48 grand. Okay? It's worth 127. Over 8 years, you've saved up 96. And it's worth 1.6 million in purchasing power. It's dollars, but it doesn't matter. Euros, dollars. It's just an example of dollar cost averaging. And that was just purchasing every month. Never looking at the price, just picking a date and buying. Bam, bam, bam. And I think monthly outperforms daily. So this is super simple, but it's not easy. Most things in life are super simple and not easy. Because a lot of people think you need to trade this thing. So you need to find the tops and find the bottoms and move your money in and move your money out and make human decisions. No one's outperforming anyone who's accumulating Bitcoin, I don't think. Certainly not for the level of risks they're taking. It's not the same. Trying to predict FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Don't think we're through it all. I've been through a lot of FUD. But I know it's not gone. I know that new FUD will come, whatever it is, chain, split, and a fork, whatever. There's always going to be FUD, and that's why you need conviction, and you need to commit yourself for the 4-year plan. Technical errors, having an opinion. Remember, I don't think you should have an opinion until you've got your 4-year apprenticeship done. And then you'll realize that your opinion doesn't matter. Bitcoin just does what Bitcoin does. Scams. Again, every week people lose a lot of money to scams. And price experts. And trying to ignore crypto where you've got the opportunity for quick and easy gains. The one thing that gets you through all this stuff, okay, and most people don't think this is as important, but it's how I've built all my companies, okay, is by not only giving people the technical solution, but by providing accountability, okay, and community. And that's why we've 300 odd people in a Retirely Club. All they're doing is accumulating Bitcoin, but those who've been in the club have aggressively accumulated all the way through the bear market and they're in a super financial position. Those who didn't, they waited, they piled in at 60, Bitcoin pulls back, they waited for it to go low. You know, they just do all the wrong things, and it's so simple. So that's the advantage of community. So just a little bit on where and how to store your pension. I'll run through these quickly. You have the option of an exchange. And some people will say, like, well, no one's ever lost money keeping their Bitcoin on Coinbase. And that's true. But you can't say that about FTX. So it's like, who knows what the future holds? There's advantages. There's no perfect solution to your custody, okay? It's a sliding scale, and there's advantages and pros and cons, and it suits you. And the beauty of your whatever strategy you create is it's not set in stone. You don't have to stay like this forever. But starting, action matters more than trying to get the perfect plan before you move forward. So with an exchange, the terms and conditions are they own the Bitcoin. And you sign them, we don't read them. So that means if anything happens to them, they just have a debt obligation to you, and your Bitcoin may or not be in your account. Although your account says 1 Bitcoin, the collateral mightn't be there because you allowed them to use the collateral for whatever they want, which means risk. If you're not going to custody your coins, I think a broker solution is much better. And that's because you retain ownership. It's because of the legal structure of the various companies. Customer wallets are segregated, and customer wallets are held in cold storage. And that's a huge difference than just holding your crypto on an exchange or your Bitcoin on an exchange, and then the exchange goes down. We hear all the time of these exchange wallet hacks, and these are hot wallets. So to me, if someone's, with a lot of our clients, we'll push them down this route initially, because it's like, you can get started, you can make a 100 grand bet if you want, 7 figures, whatever. And I'm happy that the coins are being custodied in a better arrangement. It's not like someone can hack into your Revolut and steal your Bitcoin, because we've seen things like that in the office, okay? And then we come to self-custody. And with Bitcoiners, there's a lot of people just sort of hear things being said and they don't think about it and they jump on with the crowd and they just follow their charismatic leader and whatever he says is gospel. In Bitcoin, what you'll find, again, with your experience in Bitcoin is that all charismatic leaders are only human, and they all make mistakes. Like, a lot of people would idolize Michael Saylor, but he was dead wrong about the Ethereum ETF. You know, and it's just to give an example that come up with your own framework, your own thesis, and then you don't rely on anyone else's opinion. But Bitcoiners will all say, like, not your keys, not your coins, and everyone should self-custody. I see much more mistakes in self-custody and hundreds of thousands and more in euro value, okay, or many, many Bitcoins lost through self-custody mistakes, more so than people having their coins on exchanges and getting hacked. You know, and that's just the real world reality of what I see having a custody business and what I talk about on the phone. You know, grown men crying, breaking down when they realize that it's not fixable what's happened. So there's huge responsibility with self-custody, and I think it's a journey to it that we can all, I think everyone should start the journey, okay, and we move into it by starting small, and as you get more experience and comfortable, you can build your allocation in your self-custody, but it's not all or nothing, I don't think, because it's your responsibility, and you own your own pension. So collaborative multi-sig, I'll just finish on, just to give people a little insight into that. And why I think if you're going to self-manage your pension yourself, that this is the best solution. And you could say, well, that's biased, Dinny, because you're an advisor for the Bitcoin advisor, which I am. But I was a customer before I was an advisor. It's when I spoke to Peter on my podcast and I learned about it, I was like, that sounds like a really good solution. And some really smart people are starting to realize that as well. Knut, I think, has been the most recent Bitcoin advisor to come on board, author of Everything Divided by 21 Million, is that right? I think so. So How that works is, just to give you a quick little idea of it, you have your own key, your wallet, your ledger, your Trezor, your cold card, whatever. Unchained, if you're using their proprietary software, they have a key, and the Bitcoin advisor holds a key. The key to me is that they're two separate companies. They can't be the same entity, okay? So you hold your pension, you're in control of it, but the beauty of this is, and this is what really spoke to me, is there's no single point of failure. With holding one key, all your Bitcoin behind one key, it is a single point of failure, and I've seen that be broken so many times that it terrifies me to be in that situation of it. And a lot of the people in this room will take their custody really seriously. And you're probably fully competent to hold it within that single point of failure. But I just compare myself to, like, I think I'm retail. You know, I'm just a normal person, I've no financial training, and I'm not super organized. I have a million things going on, so I don't have time to devote my whole life to just cussing my Bitcoin. It's like the minimum, just get it done. I want to go ride motorbikes or whatever, have to crack, which is most people, okay? And that's why we need to be in a position where we can't screw it up. Whatever we do, it's really difficult to lose my Bitcoin, no matter what I do. Even if some scammer rings me up and I give him my private key, I post it to him, okay? I meet him and I hand it to him. I still can't lose my Bitcoin. And that's, I think, the beauty of this situation. If anyone would like to find out more, because I'm almost out of time, so I better get out of here, you can come up and talk to me. I'll be floating about for the day, or drop me an email or anything. But they're your 4 options. But the most important thing, I think, is that you start. You start accumulating, okay? And you don't lose it. Because really, that's the only job. Our wealth will be measured by the amount of Bitcoin we own in the future. Most people in the room have gotten there, and if you haven't, perhaps during this conference you'll start to move closer to understanding that. So therefore, there's 3 phases to it, and the first one is to accumulate. Okay, and if you haven't reached a figure that retires you, then you're still in the accumulation strategy. And if you have reached a figure that retires you, but you don't want to spend the money, and you're still earning money, you have a problem. What do you do with the money? Accumulate Bitcoin. Guys, it's been awesome to start up. I'm looking forward to catching up with everyone and chatting to everyone as the day goes on. You're all super welcome. If you're not following Bitcoin with Dinny on social media, give us a like or a follow there. Stretch the index finger, as I just say in the camera. But thanks very much. I'm really looking forward to an awesome day with some awesome speakers on here. Dinny out.